Mark here. Y'all know how I do, cook the books and bring the information. So I have a little daughter, right? And she's getting a little, she's 2.5. So I be paying attention to her behavior. And the question's always been, not really a question, but the statement is that always been that girls mature faster than boys, right? That's like a adage, right? It's a basic saying. And so I looked into it, and I've been researching it for the past couple of weeks, and I found out that it's actually scientifically proven that it's true. And here's why. When you're born, right, the brain has trillions of nerve fibers. These fibers are, think of cables and wires, right? And they allow for the transmission of information between the left and the right hemispheres within the brain. So you have the connectivity between the left and the right, and you have all these fibers. And as a child begins to age, there's a process called reorganizational structuring and pruning. Excuse me, reorganizational structuring and pruning. And pruning is the cutting away, the doing away with all these fibers that are not necessary or that are not being used. So you have all these fibers, and in a girl, the process of reorganizational pruning begins around 6, 7 years old. And what that means is now they're in a child's brain, a little girl's brain, the connectivity of information is streamlined. And right, so the information is streamlined faster, and that means it speeds up the velocity of connectivity between the left and the right hemisphere, right? So the information is facilitated between the left and the right hemisphere. So a little girl will tend to be able to be more advanced than a little boy that's at the same age, because they found out that in boys, the same process, which is reorganizational structuring and pruning, begins in boys ages 13, 14, and 15. So a girl has a 7-year gap advantage than a boy. So a girl that's 7 years old is going to tend to be more mature than a boy who is 14. Right? And the reason for that, again, is because of the pruning of the fibers within the brain. And when you're born with trillions of these nerve fibers. And these fibers are necessary at that point. But as you get older, the fibers that are not being used begin, like I said, the pruning process begin. So you start to streamline. So girls streamline information faster. And that's why girls tend to be more mature than little boys. And we see it all the time, right? Little girls tend to do better in school. Even today, if you look at there are more girls graduate when you go to high school. There are more girls graduating from high school than there are boys. There are more girls that are going into the market in terms of labor market than boys, right? Or than young men, young women than young men. So this accounts for so much. Why you see, like I said, if you go and study the statistics, I don't have the forensics. I did not research it, but it's generally known that girls tend to graduate at higher rates than boys. Young ladies tend to graduate higher than boys, and tend to do better in schools and classes. Their grades tend, right? There's exception to the rules, but the young ladies tend to be more academically acute or sharp than young boys. So you can see it play out in everyday society. And understanding the science, it now makes sense. So females do have a biological advantage. So I'll give y'all that. Ladies, if you're out there and you're watching this video, give yourself a pat on the back. Evolution did favor you in terms of the the IQ, the intellectual quotient. You guys do have a head start. What else? Yeah, evolution does favor you. Nature did endow you with the intellectual prowess, right? You do have some mental magnificence over us. I'll give you that. So my daughter, she's already one step ahead of the game. I have to bring her into this consciousness, make her aware of how her brain has been designed by nature's laws to be more advanced than boys. Men, we just got to take the L on this one. It is what it is. We have a lot of advantages and it's pros and cons to being to both genders. In this one, we got to gracefully bow out. You know what I mean? We take it in stride. This is not your fault, gentlemen. This is how nature and evolution has seen fit to design and to patternize us. So yeah, so so it's the pruning process again that begins in a little girl's brain 7, 8 years faster than it does in a boy's, giving that a little girl an advantage in terms of maturity and in terms of her cognitive and mental faculties will be more developed and advanced than a little boy. That's why little boys they do dumb stuff. Like even as men, we still do dumb shit. So I mean, you know, but yeah, I just want to share that with you guys. You know what I mean? So my little girl gonna do very well in life, especially with a daddy like me. I'm gonna feed her brain. You hear me? I'm gonna make sure her brain is. I'm gonna teach her about the occipital lobe. What is the responsibility of the occipital lobe to interpret visuals, to interpret that which is sight. I'm gonna teach about the parietal lobe. That interprets all her sensory information and transmit it throughout areas of the other areas of the brain. I'm gonna teach about the prefrontal lobe, which is for higher behavior, controlling the emotions. What is that for? It's responsible for developing problem-solving skills, attention span. You know, I mentioned it, managing your emotions and impulses. I'm gonna teach about that. I'm gonna make sure that she's up on. So that's the parietal lobe, the frontal lobe. I'm gonna teach about. I spoke about the occipital lobe. I'm gonna teach about the temporal lobe, which is very important because that's located right above the ear level, on both sides of the brain, right above the ear level, and how that is responsible for interpreting the emotions and reactions of others. It also has to do with memory, right? Facial recognition. So I'm gonna make sure I teach her about the brain mapping, like mapping out the brain and how to meditate on each different lobes. If you meditate on the different lobes, you actually you strengthen, enlighten, empower the individual maps, portions of the brain. You can actually manipulate and encourage, empower, enlighten parts of your brain through meditation. Because through meditation, you transfer energy to these regions. If you meditate on that region, you're actually transferring energy to that region. And that energy you transfer is going to encourage that region, foster that region, prepare that region, cultivate. No different than if you go to the gym and you work out your bicep. You work out, you just do bicep exercise, you're going to strengthen that bicep. It's no different. It's no different, right? Same principle. In principle, it's the same thing. In theory, it's different, but in principle, it's the same thing. So I'm going to teach you all this, you know what I'm saying? Because, ladies, again, y'all got one up on us. And if y'all understood this power that y'all had, some of y'all do. Some of y'all do. A lot of y'all do, a matter of fact. Give y'all some credit. But if more of y'all were taught this power that y'all got, oh, man, we'd be in the kitchen. that was sexist. I'm going to stop. Forgive me for that one. That one was bad. That one was bad. I might not even put this video up now. You know what I mean? Y'all gotta forgive me for that one. But fellas, we'd definitely be on the back of the line if they understood, if they really, really, really understood this power that they got. So, you know, yeah, you know, I'm gonna teach my daughter all this good stuff. All right. Till next time. Y'all have a good one. Peace.